Hello, everybody.
Hi, guys.
Welcome back to the MARZ live stream. I'm Corey. And
This is Jay.
Jay's there. And we're here with another partnership with Access Humboldt, another Access class. Today, we're pretty stoked. We have our first remote guest on our stream. Mo from Access Humboldt is here with us.
Yeah, so you want to introduce yourself, Mo? We'll give you the stage here. Hold on 1 second. I'm sorry to cut you off. I forgot to give you... you can go ahead and introduce yourself now. You should be good. I forgot to add your ability to speak to the other scenes.
Oh,
so. Sounds important.
Very nice.
Yeah. Go ahead and I'll fix
Well
that.
then, hello world. My name is Mo. I'm part of the Access Humboldt crew. Stoked to be here. This is cool. I love remote access to things as we bridge worlds. And I thought we would just talk about equipment in that same sense of accessibility, because I feel like it's so easy to get lost in expensive equipment when you're trying to produce anything. And it's nice to have a reminder that, you know, there are affordable ways and free ways to make some sweet content. So
We all love free ways.
I figured we'd talk about that.
Sounds awesome.
Yeah, here, let me give you the full thing real quick. Hold on 1 sec.
Yeah, okay. Well, I'm like, I don't know what I'll say now, but
As it ever needs to be.
Yeah, I think you could hear us there for a second, but let's just stick with this for now. I think the problem I'm having is
we look cool sharing the screen.
yeah, it works this way. I wanted to give you the whole thing, but if it's not going to cooperate, here I'll just not move us, but everybody can see. I like showing how, you know, it's kind of cool when everybody can see how we actually set things up and how you can arrange everything on OBS. Like I have complete control here to move things around. I'll give you more space, that way it's more like you're here with us here.
Oh,
There we go.
that's
Cool.
nice.
How's that
Nice.
work?
At the table. Love it. Yeah, I figured we could just all talk about equipment that we use in our lives over at MARZ. I can talk a little bit about equipment you can rent from Access Humboldt, but I wanted to just share like what I create and the equipment I use to do so. So I'll just start with my stuff. Right now I film dance classes for YouTube because I teach dance and the pandemic has raptured that. But I just use my DSLR camera, which like I have a Canon, so I'll put it on a tripod and I'll put music over it, and sometimes I'll use a wireless mic to capture my sound, because my dance class, like if you're there in person, you usually can like hear my counts and stuff. And I've also used my phone with a pair of headphones, like my iPhone, and I'll record myself with the headphones in and then do some editing for it. And then I have a snowball microphone, which is,
Those are
I
great.
wouldn't say it's anything special, but it was super affordable. And
Yeah, for what they are.
It has 3 settings. And I was kind of surprised. I asked for it for Christmas, and I knew it was just like the easiest thing to send my grandmother to get. And that was maybe 5 years ago. So it's holding up well. And it has 3 settings, which is pretty good. It has like a setting for one person doing like speech or vocals or like a podcast. It has another setting so you could do like live music. and then it has another setting where you could do like a group of people around the mic, and it will like try to cancel out the white noise in between.
Yeah, I think we kind of talked about some of those features of like different mics, all the different polar patterns.
Yeah, we got really dorky the last couple of weeks, like talking about microphone selection and like polar pattern stuff. But this is a USB mic.
Did you hear that?
Yeah.
Remix.
I'm sorry about that.
That was tight.
I'm creating too many audio loops. One of these days I'll figure out a better way to do this. But I'm still learning. Like Corey and I are both
trial and error, exactly.
Professionals, but we, still learning how to. So it's through trial and error that you pick up the stuff.
Professional anyway.
That was a little mistake on my part. I think I tried to monitor. I don't know. It's kind of a nightmare, but we'll figure out a better way to do remote guests in the future.
Yeah. It's okay. We're learning for the future. Exactly.
Yep.
Absolutely.
And it seems funny talking about the settings, but I remember I was recording like a song being sung, and I put it on the wrong setting, and we weren't in like a soundproof booth, and it caught all the weird sounds in the background, and we didn't have time to re-record it. So then it was like this horrible editing of like lowering the volume in between empty spots. It was just a mess, and it was like if I had just read what the settings were, we could have like avoided all of that.
Right. I just looked them up. I'm curious.
Yeah.
So it sounds like it's got multiple polar patterns. So it's got so you probably had it in omni pattern is my guess, where it picks up everything equally around the room, and the other two settings are more directional, where it'll like reject sound from the back.
See, that's what we needed.
Right.
And so that was a mess, but thankfully for like editing and post-production, I mean, not for me sitting at my computer for hours, but we were able to create something that was like doable.
Yeah.
And I film a podcast right now. So we actually were planning to meet in person, and everyone like have their own microphone and kind of like film our interactions while we were doing it. But then the pandemic came, and we started doing it over Zoom, actually. And it was like a pretty awesome platform if everyone was able to like get their own microphones plugged in. And it's ultimately free if you're meeting for less than an hour. So we would have like 30-minute interviews, and it was like, it's funny because I feel like Zoom was such a like afterthought last year, but now it's like we centralize around it so much. And you can check out the podcast. We have 2 whole seasons that we did over Zoom that some of our guests, you can tell that they like didn't have the necessary like microphone or like headphones for when we were recording, but or like good service. That also was like a key factor. But it came out pretty good.
Recording the audio for that, or do you just record it all like someone aggregates the stream, just records what they get, or do you have people record on their ends and like mix it later?
We did. So I recorded it on my end, and then I would edit it. And I would normally put it through GarageBand with a filter. So I would put like the narrator voice on it, or like the story, they have those different settings that would just kind of like sharpen the sound and make it a little nicer. And the Apple headphones actually ended up being a great tool also because of the headphone that they have, or excuse me, the microphone they have built in works really well. Oh, I can't hear you now.
I'm running into some sound issues. You are echoing. That's what I was trying to do. I went to go check the YouTube page and realized that it was picking up and echoing pretty bad. So I think I'm just gonna, for now, toggle the mic on and off. But for some reason, the boom mic isn't working either. So.
What the heck? Do we need to switch to headphones?
Oh man.
Maybe hold on. Let me. We can still, if you want to keep talking though, while we try to figure this out.
Okay. I was like, I'm not sure.
Yeah, go for it. You talk about your different points, and we'll see what's going on here. I'll see if I can work this out live. So
But yeah,
it's all yours.
The Apple headphones came in clutch for microphones that a lot of people just had, because it comes with your phone. And then what else? Let's see. I have a tripod that's was super cheap, just like a 3-legged. I think it's like 4 feet tall or something. And then I bought an attachment so that it could also hold my phone. So it screws into the bottom of my digital camera, but I can have it hold my phone, which I have. I don't even know what iPhone this is. It's not a new one, but the camera on it is nice. And I've done a lot of video capturing on that, and which I do recommend for people to use, especially as like smartphones are more a norm for folks, to have just in their pockets. And then I also have a light kit that I just also bought off the internet. I think I bought it for like between $150 to $200, which I.
Oh, can you hear Corey now?
Which I know you can get.
Can you?
I can hear you guys.
Oh, yay! Awesome.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Just one of me.
Yeah, it's been one of you the whole time. I hope that it's.
Well, yeah. But
okay.
How YouTube can hear you, but it's weird that it was definitely working beforehand. I must have hit something accidentally. I'm probably pretty quiet. I don't have my mic on.
Oh, I can hear you pretty clear. There's also. Oh, it's over. I can hear you.
Oh.
Huh.
I think Zoom's probably upping the volume to like compensate when I talk. So I'm over here.
As much as we've come to rely on Zoom, Zoom does wacky stuff to audio. Really wacky. Trying to do sound stuff over Zoom, like visual things over Zoom, like it's not so bad, but it really, even if you get it to like, you tweak all the settings so it's sending like original audio or whatever, I still get a weird, like, it's compressed and it's weird. It does things to the stereo spectrum. It's like all.
Yeah. Yeah, that was something too I found doing my dance class, was like the audio was super delayed and like had like gaps in it. It was just bad. And I know they've been like improved it since then, but it's not really made for that platform, I guess,
Oh, it's really not at all. No. They've been adding tweaks and adding little features to make it a little easier. It seems like doing like one-on-one kind of thing, like works a little bit better, but there's all, like anything that like, it's not meant for streaming. It's just meant for conversing.
Yeah.
So it's like there's a better platform for that for sure.
Yeah, and then being like a remote worker in Humble, it's like we have crappy internet here anyways.
Yeah.
So then to have like these meetings with all these people trying to like share sound or share a video or like anything, it's lost.
I would like to name drop a relatively cheap technology upgrade I did this year that totally rocked my world. Is I bought new routers, and like I feel like people forget that like. I don't know, if you're not getting the speed that is advertised from your ISP, try upgrading your router first, because now I get better speeds than I'm supposed to get.
That's a good point.
Well, I was using like I had just not thought about it in forever, and I was using an old like Airport Express, one of those old Apple routers, but the thing was like 14 years old or something like that. Like it was ancient and like just didn't, it was like several generations behind in wireless technology, and it like tripled the speeds that I got at home. So if anyone's having trouble with their internet, consider that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
I'm like looking at my router now. I'm like, oh man.
I will happily. I learned way too much about router specs and would happily talk to you about it if you wanted.
Yeah, I have the sudden link one, which means it's probably bad because they want me to think my internet needs improvements, so I buy more stuff from them or something.
Yeah, I got some key link ones that were really easy to set up, but
they're pretty solid.
And that's another like piece of the puzzle that people like never think about. Or I like as a technology nerd, I wasn't even thinking about that. So.
Can you hear me okay now? Better?
I can hear you.
Yeah, you can hear me? Does it sound, am I clearer?
You are clear.
Okay, cool.
Woo-hoo.
Why is that so loud?
So, I also got one of these setups that you're talking about recently, the little tripod and like the camera mount.
Yeah.
And that it's like so convenient because I have an old iPhone too. I have an iPhone 7, but it shoots HD footage and it looks fine. Like it doesn't. You're not going to get some great depth of field, and it's not going to be super well lit if it's just off the phone. But it looks awesome. And I even got the thing where you can. I have one of those H1Ns or whatever. The Zoom recorders. And you can I have it so you can mount it on top of that and plug it straight into my phone. So I get phone video, but with like nice microphones. It's kind of a cool best of both worlds setup. And that
that was something we were talking about, is like plug-in microphones for the phone.
Yeah.
Because it makes it's just another level of like using your phone.
Totally.
That's so easy.
Yeah, the phone does like all the like software stuff that you like, any device that you could get. Like, there's probably an app that does all the software stuff, unless you need to route a bunch of signals from one place to another. But like your built-in mics, although they're getting better all the time, I feel like they're not keeping pace with the cameras.
Not at all.
Like having some sort of like external microphone, which there's a lot of different options. You can find things that are like, if you have an iPhone, there's like stuff that like plugs straight into the lightning port, but you can also like you can get an adapter to use most like USB if things are what's called class compliant or whatever. Like you can,
I know what you're talking about.
You can plug any old USB
and you get a little adapter.
Yeah, totally. So like this audio interface, let me get it on camera. This Focusrite 2i2 is a class. I'm pretty sure this one's class compliant and works with iOS. I know that if this one doesn't, the newer version of it does. Lots of stuff does. I think that probably the Snowball mic, I would guess, would too.
Yeah, I can imagine that as people make new versions of things, that's something they're including now, especially with like the age of video-based social media.
Totally.
Like for TikTok, I guess in my world it started to exist last year, but other folks have been doing things like that. And like Vine, I can imagine that, that's half the reason why smartphones started gearing up their cameras, and then the equipment that we were using outside of phones are now finding ways to support telephones.
Totally. And it makes perfect sense because it's like just like a super powerful computer, and it's like, why buy a second computer if you can just buy accessories for the computer you've already got in your pocket,
Yeah.
So. And
I'm pretty impressed in like the new cameras on like new Droids and new iPhones.
Oh, it's
like,
shocking.
They have night modes, they have slow motion, they can like reverse, they're ultimately taking away your post-production because you're able to like film in all these different ways that like wasn't an option before. And they're not cheap, the cell phones, but they do some pretty impressive things outside of making phone calls.
Totally. And most people have one, even if it's a cheap one. Like it seems like most of us have one already, and like you don't need a fancy one to capture stuff with, like a nice camera, like a nicer one's gonna have a nicer camera. If you're recording audio though, like if you're gonna get an external mic, as long as it works with your phone, it doesn't really matter what phone you have. It's more about how much space you have to store stuff on it.
Right.
Yes, exactly. Actually, storage is huge.
Yeah, it comes.
But external hard drives are still pretty affordable.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't know what brand mine is because I haven't had the box in so long, but it's like super tiny, and it's the 2 terabytes.
Oh yeah, totally.
So it's humongous. And I remember when I first started making films in like 2005, my hard drive was this big, and I had to like lug it to and from the access station that I lived near because that's where I would do my editing and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like this little one is so accessible. It was like under $200, and I've also had it for quite a few years. And then, you know, it just plugs in with the USB cord and doesn't need to be charged because it charges from the computer, and, you know, but that's also something handy to have. I'm sure I could figure out how to plug it into my phone, but I have an Apple computer, so I can usually just like share my documents from my phone to my computer and then put it right on the hard drive.
Yeah. There's a whole like I don't know what it's like on the Android side of things, but like in iOS, like there's like there can be like it's not always so simple to move files from one place to another unless you have another like an Apple computer to move it to and from. Like I've noticed this. Like I'm also in the Apple world, and so like I don't have this problem much, but like I notice that sometimes like students come in here with an iPhone and want to move a file to one of our computers, and you just like literally can't do it. Like you can't can't access the file system. Whereas like with like Android phones, you can totally just like plug it in and take data right off of it. So like if you're planning on like doing a lot of work in the mobile space, it's about like getting used to using software solutions to move files around, and maybe like getting comfortable with like a cloud storage platform like Dropbox or something like that. Or
Google Drive is like my go-to. If I record something on my phone, I just upload it to the drive. You know, if I'm on Wi-Fi at home, you know, or in the office or whatever, just like record something and then just put it right on the drive and then download on the computer. And then plus you've essentially made a backup as well.
Yeah.
So, you know, you're
exactly
saved in multiple locations. So like it doesn't leave the phone, it just goes, you know, but you can then delete it off the phone if you don't need it there anymore. But every time you put it on the cloud, you know, you're never deleting it off the cloud unless you purposely tell it to. Like anytime you download it, you're making more copies. So you're essentially backing up in the process instead of just like transferring the files. So that's tends to be the easiest way to do it for me. Google Drive is definitely great for that. And their upgrades, like the subscription upgrades, are not that expensive. It's like for 150 gigs, I think you get 50 at the standard. I think it is.
Yeah, it comes with pretty decent storage size.
Yeah.
And then it's like $100 a year or something for the humongous one.
Right, for like their
or something lower than that, but
yeah, I know, and it's like it's only an extra $1, I think, if you do like a month. If you do, or maybe it's a year. I can't. It's not much.
I got it pulled up over here.
You got it pulled up?
Yeah, let's hear it.
Easier said than done. Yeah, so it's 15 free, and then it's like 100, 200, and 2 terabytes are the tiers, and it's $2 a month, $3 a month, and then $10 a month.
Oh yeah.
So and there's annual discounts or whatever.
2 gigs, yeah, which is, I mean,
it's fairly reasonable though.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, if you don't have access to get a external hard drive, because that's like a one-time expense, then it's not crazy to spend $2 a month.
Right. Here's the thing about hard
especially
drive.
If you're organized.
Yeah. The thing about the external hard drive though is that like if you're using it as a backup, that's cool. But if you're keeping unique files there, you want somewhere else to back that up too. Do you know what I mean? So then
that's true.
Like so, I'm like a weirdo. I have 3 external hard drives. I have one that is a clone of my computer, and I have one that's just extra data, and then I have a third one that is partitioned into 2 partitions. One is the clone of my computer and the extra data, all on one drive. So it's like I have redundant copies of everything. I have 3 copies of my essential active data and 2 copies of all my backup stuff.
Yeah.
And if I was smart,
that's crazy.
I would keep it in the cloud as well. This is like the IT people talk about the 3 like having 3 copies of your files. There's like the active copy, there's the backup, and then there's the backup of the backup. And those all like it's on-site and off-site backups. That's what they call it, right? So like a backup file that you can access like immediately there, and then a backup file that if your house blows up, you can still access it, you know, so like somewhere physically.
Yeah. Which I have a cloud in my hard drive and then my computer.
There you go. The triple threat.
But I have experienced like losing everything on a hard drive before. So I do definitely recommend the double up. That's for sure.
They failed.
I'm like, I
love
almost
the cloud
forgot that
stuff.
even happened to me.
Yeah. Oh man, yeah. The trauma it was almost gone, and I'm sorry to re-traumatize you by bringing it up.
It's like, oh yeah, that's a good point. That happened to me
Oh, it's
not
awful.
too long ago.
Oh man,
Yeah.
I'm sorry that happened. Yeah, that's a nightmare though. It really is.
I'm definitely like leaning 100% toward like all cloud based. I mean, I download stuff when I'm working on the project, but then re-upload it once I'm done, or like save copies. Because you can do it where you sync your part. I mean, part of the base version of the Google Drive is you can download the file manager, and then it auto syncs anything you have in there to your cloud automatically. So it's just a file on your desktop or in your documents or whatever, and anything you put in there automatically syncs. So whether that's, you're just throwing a few pictures in there or video files, raw video files, or actually saving your project in there. So like with for MARZ and stuff, I'm either working on this workstation here or I'm working on mine at home, and like most of the MARZ stuff, I'll keep the project files just in the MARZ video like Google Drive, and then whatever computer I'm working on, it syncs up automatically. The moment I turn this computer on, it downloads those files and puts them, takes them off the drive and puts them in that folder. So it's a great way, especially, and if you're working as a team, like then all your team members can have all those files, and every time you save something, it's automatically, uploaded and updated.
Yeah, that's a good point. Team, like a group effort that makes it so easy.
Right. Which
to
most
have
of
the
most of
drive.
these projects that we're doing are, focused on, our group effort usually. And, if you're sharing those projects, or you're sharing the final thing, or, it definitely is super handy. Yeah. A Dropbox can do some of the similar things, but it has the same function of being like you can have the file manager on your computer. But I haven't.
They don't have as much space.
Yeah, you don't get as much space, and it doesn't have the same capabilities as far as like actually making documents as well. Of course, that's another great thing about it. Like, if you're doing a shot list, or you have you want to make an Excel spreadsheet of locations you're going to shoot or times you're going to shoot and all that sort of stuff, you can organize that and then just share that file. Everybody can edit it, and it's it has all that built in as well. So that same shared file, you share with your team, and they have access to all the stuff that's in
and I'm pretty sure with Dropbox you would have to like create a Word document and upload it.
Exactly.
Whereas Google creates it for you.
Absolutely.
So
yeah, it's very convenient.
Yeah, it's definitely what I would recommend for any like small team. If you're looking for a file management system and you don't have a whole lot, and plus like we looked at, the upgrade is not terribly expensive, but having that capability of everyone being able to edit, and there's similar programs for screenwriting as well. If you're doing cooperative, like multiple writers, but I guess we'll be talking about software stuff next week, huh? So we'll have to get into some like free software.
But I'm like, Google does well, especially if you're just audio. The audio files tend to like not be that large with the Google Drive, so you can like send them around and upload them quickly and stuff.
Yeah. I really enjoy the folder feature of like, instead of sharing individual files, being like, this is this project's file. And so everything that you put in there is automatically shared with everyone who can access that file. And like makes it super simple. I know a lot of people will be like, here's all these documents, and you just shared every document individually. And it's like, why not just like make a folder with all this stuff, or like share the whole folder itself?
Or like the biggest tip ever, just like being organized in your production.
Organization is definitely key. But all that stuff's like, that's a great thing. It's the base version of it is a free resource, and it's definitely a good tool to have in your arsenal to be able to know how to use that stuff when organizing any kind of shoot or production of any kind. So. Yeah,
absolutely. It can get overwhelming so quickly.
Mm-hmm. Definitely staying organized. That's a big thing, especially with video files too. Say you go out and shoot for the day.
Yeah, and labeling them.
Yeah, because your camera's only going to give you some numbers. Like if you go through and say, when you're going through your clips after you've shot them and, naming them or saying like, oh, this is a lot of times if you have, if you're doing a bigger project, you have scenes and you have, take, scene 2, shot 3.
Yeah,
take
using those
2.
folders.
Yeah, you can organize it, to definitely make the editing much easier, especially on bigger projects. Not so much with small stuff. I don't tend to name a lot of things with small projects if it's like one take. Unless I guess like interviews. Interviews are pretty easy to name. Give it the file name of the person who you recorded, but typically, you set your camera down and you let it go the whole time.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you have one longer file. But
Yeah, that's how I like to do things like that. And
Right.
like instead of stopping and recording on the camera, I'll just shoot one long
yeah, that's
Yeah.
a funny thing when
thing,
working
which
with
at the end
actors.
you have to like watch it, but
Yeah, at least like when you're working with your actors and stuff, you'll be like, oh, do I need to start all the way over? Do we need to cut and start over? Or it's like, no, just let it roll. Just keep doing your thing. Take,
yeah.
say it over again, or there's in this digital world, with SD cards, you don't have to worry about wasting film because you can just
I know.
format your SD cards and start over again. You have all the space you need. So
Yeah, that's true. Because I used to use a mini DV camera, and now I've given my old mini DV camera to my son, and he makes movies on it.
Awesome.
really,
And I had to explain to him that that the video will end,
yeah.
and that if you don't upload the content, then you will go over it by
Right.
using the
Those-
tape
those
again.
read tape over, don't they? They'll that's what.
Yeah, so like if you just record it,
Right.
you have a whole new tape basically,
That's crazy.
or excuse me, rewind it.
Yeah, you rewind it and you can shoot over it. I that was like one of the first things I ever used, like when I was a kid, like when I first started getting into the movie stuff, was one of those. My dad had like this ancient, I think it was a JVC camcorder, like mini DV.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yep.
Yeah, but I like would take that thing and that's how I would edit. I would film and then rewind it to the place where I wanted it to cut, and then film over whatever
Yeah.
that next thing. So I didn't
Yeah.
actually take and do anything like that, but
That's what I learned on, and even the access station that I was a member of had like video cameras. It wasn't until like a few years later that they got like HD cameras that took SD cards. But I do remember learning like in-camera edits.
yeah.
And like just like
Oh my gosh.
the tool is the video tape itself,
Yeah.
like
Yep.
being on
Physically
point to like
rewind
stop
it.
and start your camera, or having a team. If you
Right.
film with somebody, then it'll be easy. But yeah, I remember that so vividly, and just the pain and like time that it would take to upload content, because you have to play the tape
Mhm.
Right.
to upload your video. You don't get to just drag and drop things like you do with an SD card.
I miss the whole I never got it was like a cool like tape recorder guy, so I missed the whole recording music on tape era. What a pain though. Oh man.
Gosh.
I mean it's cool sound. It's a cool sound, but it's so tedious.
Yeah.
I'm so used to instant
Oh,
as many tracks
gosh,
as you
yeah.
want. Do whatever you want.
Well,
Yeah.
we've still got some mini DV cameras around here at
Yeah, we
the
do.
office that were, they were used for a long time.
Mhm.
I think, were they still using them when you first started?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so. They must have been. Yeah.
That's crazy. Because, there was definitely digital then, for sure.
Oh yeah.
But,
I haven't been here that long.
I mean, they probably were given to the program. Like folks that were upgrading their equipment were like, "Here you go, I have these cameras."
I suspect so. Yeah.
yeah.
It's possible they came from Access Humboldt.
Yeah, they could be. They're sitting in the other room. I think there's one actually right behind you, Corey.
Oh yeah. These look familiar.
Yeah. So
Oh yeah, see, that's like even a nice one.
Yeah, that was high class, I think.
So,
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, it has the mic,
Yep.
nice lens.
So I think that there's
20x zoom.
2 of those. So those were used for years. I think that was even before. I remember one of the first times I ever came to MARZ, back when I was still in high school. they were still using those, and that was like 2013 or 12, 13. So, we
We'll
definitely...
just do a mini DV project
Oh my gosh.
and test
We
everyone's
still have some
organizational
around here.
skills and patience.
Yeah, they're here. There's a whole box of them, and there's a bunch of empty ones, and there's like a ton of old MARZ videos on those things. Like,
Yeah, those things usually don't have as many like auto settings too, so you like actually need to pay attention to like your training.
right.
Like make sure you white balance because it's not going to do it for you. And
true.
stuff. So
But,
that's
like,
cool though. You guys should keep those, and when they're obsolete, you can make them into like an art installation.
That's pretty much what they are now. Yeah, that's that whole backdrop behind Corey is all things that have probably not been used in.
The TR8 is still good, but for some reason,
green?
nobody
Is that
likes
the-
hardware drum machines. I thought they'd be more fun.
Still works.
Huh.
It's just, yeah, but there's a few other cameras up there. There's an old wind up I think that's an 8mm camera. You have to
Oh
crank it
wow,
up
that's
and then,
cool.
And then hold the trigger to spin it, so it's not even no batteries or anything. It's all
this guy?
Yeah. So no even old stuff.
Oh wow.
You should be able to hear it. So if you pull the trigger on the bottom,
Where is it?
should be like a button. Yeah, there it goes.
And what, that just basically moves the film and exposes it while it films?
Yep.
I think it probably shoots at 12 or 14 FPS, I believe.
Interesting.
Was the on those ones? It's something like that. I know it's definitely not 24, which is the standard
Yeah.
film.
I mean, I guess there's not really a way to, but I guess it can't, and it also can't be too slow because, we used to see videos that weren't like laggy.
Right.
Or have that like blur to them.
So
when it's not going fast enough.
I guess we were talking, about accessible equipment. If we say one of our students wanted to do more than just use their phone, what would be their next step? What could we go up to from a phone that would give them better quality, better sound? I know a lot of phones are so good now that it's why even go to a camcorder, which would probably be...
Well, I guess we were talking about the plug-in mic brings the quality of anything up. A pair of headphones
for sure.
helps out. And then I'm thinking it would be, in terms of affordability, I guess it would go iPad or tablet first.
Do you think would actually filming on an iPad work well? I've definitely seen people edit on iPads and and shooting on your iPhone and then sending it to your iPad and then doing the editing.
Yeah.
Because
I personally think it's crazy because it's such a weird shape.
Yeah.
But I know people that film all their content like that, and they just have an iPad holder.
Wow.
And they prop it up. My son makes videos, and he uses the mini DV camera and an iPad because he doesn't have a phone.
Yeah.
And then the computer. So the iComputers have the built-in camera, and he'll use that too.
Oh, that's what I didn't realize. You use the webcam built into the computer. Film stuff.
They're notoriously not great quality though, the Apple webcams. They've just recently started improving them from how they were on mine, which is about 8 years old. They finally...
you can see the difference in even Zoom meetings where people are on their desktop versus their phone, and they look just completely different.
Yeah, my phone camera, my iPhone 7, which is from the same year as my computer, or no, it's from 2 years later, I guess. It loads better than my computer's picture, quite a bit better.
Oh yeah.
And the iPad too. The cameras on those things have lagged behind the phone. So if you have an iPad and an iPhone of similar age, your iPhone has a better camera, almost certainly.
Yeah, I agree.
But and it's but the best camera is whatever the best camera is that you got. But I wouldn't buy an iPad for its camera. But it's more for everything else that it does.
Oh yeah.
No, if you already have one, I agree. I would not buy it for that. I also just I think it's a silly purchase in general. It's like a little computer, I get it, but I'm like, is it really doing
Yeah.
doing anything? But
Yeah.
Well,
I do know that we give them out in our sound kits though. So it specifically just captures audio, like over at Access Humboldt, that is.
Mhm.
And it and it comes with like a microphone and the little board that you can plug into so that you're able to get these like professional sounds. But that's what we recommend for folks that don't have anything,
Yeah.
is that we'll give them a kit and it has a iPad, which I don't know what year those iPads are, but
those kits have been
I
around for a
used
long
it
time.
once and I mean it captured the sound, but I would say that it was because I had all the right accessories to go with it.
Sure. Yeah. There, like any iPad will run whatever version of GarageBand was out when that iPad was out.
Yeah.
So like there is, like, I don't really think I agree that it's like kind of like I bought an iPad and I felt like kind of a frivolous purchase. I thought I'd use it for cool music stuff, and there's some like neat music apps like that,
It's a
like
companion
actually take
device.
advantage of it in a
Yeah.
cool way. But like, as it turns out, I don't really enjoy a screen as like a musical interface. Like I like to touch things that I can feel. That makes me feel connected to music.
Oh, right, because it's touchscreen.
Yeah, so like like you can use it as like a mixer, like like a virtual mixer, like virtual knobs and faders. But like, I'd rather have real knobs and faders if I can. And so like it's like the little box that does everything, but it actually doesn't do any of those things particularly well. What it is great at though is being a cheap computer. Right, so
Yeah.
like you know what I mean. Like if like my iPad was like, I got it on sale. It was $250. It was like brand new, and it's like very little storage, but I'm not creating a ton of content on it. And you could use cloud storage if you were, and it does everything pretty zippy. Like it runs GarageBand super fast. If I needed to edit video, I could do that super fast on it too. So
Yeah, you can get like wireless keyboard
oh yeah.
too.
It has mouse support now. Like I have like
Yeah.
like my Bluetooth keyboard and mouse that I use for my PC, like work on it. So it can be
And
a
I
full little
wonder-
computer if you want.
Yeah, and like folks that don't have a computer, that don't like the phone is too small to kind of do what you need to do. The iPad just like gives you more space, I feel like, too.
Yeah.
No, like I'd say if you've got an iPhone and you've got an iPad and you need something that you can do some music stuff on, do your editing, do your graphics. I have a good friend that she's got a Samsung phone. She'll record her footage, but she'll send it to her iPad and then do all the edits.
Mm-hmm.
And she'll even do like all the graphic stuff in Procreate, which is a really great like drawing application.
Yeah.
Which is like that's the reason I got an iPad to begin with. But so she'll do.
Yeah, I was
graphics
gonna
in that,
say-
send it straight to the editing software, and I forget what the name of the editing software is.
Digital design on the tablets too. Like maybe not just the like the Apple one, but like the Google, I don't even know what brands they are, but basically the PC version of the tablet.
Yeah, Samsung makes.
I know a lot of people that do digital drawing on it,
Totally.
Yeah,
and they come with like the little pen, and you can do like graphic design and stuff really easily.
Yeah, the iPads are. I feel like for a graphic designer at least, they're an amazing tool. Like I use mine quite a bit, and I do almost all my drawing and that sort of stuff on an iPad. It's like having a whole art studio, in your pocket essentially. And they're great for that. And the editing software, like there are some free ones, but the ones that you buy are pretty full featured.
Procreate is like the jam though for
Procreate is the
illustrators.
art, yeah. But there's a lot of tools, and you can make a whole. I mean, it's a mini computer with access to a lot of great apps.
And also, like, if you're used to paying for apps on like a Windows machine or something like that, like the apps on mobile platforms are just way cheaper.
Right.
Something you pay like $500 for on a desktop is like $30 or $50 on the tablet, and it's the same features, just with a touch interface.
Yeah.
My partner's she one of her gigs is doing like illustration and graphic design, and like I got her one of these $250 iPads on sale, like with an Apple Pencil, and she's like illustrating. She's like done one book cover, and she's illustrating a whole book.
Yeah.
And it's like like she's gonna make way more than the cost of that equipment on just those two, or even just that one project. Was like paid.
Yeah,
like,
and it's
way,
so cool.
you know?
You can make a sketch and then take a picture of it, put it into the tablet, and then into the editing software, and then like go from there.
Yeah, totally.
And and it can start from a simple little like pencil stroke.
Yeah.
So they really do give like this whole new world of ease around design. I agree.
It's really cool. Yeah.
I'd say if you were starting out, like, if you don't want to take on the whole scope of like learning a bunch of different software, an iPad is a great place to start having it, like, access to, because you can do a lot of the same stuff Photoshop can do in Procreate. You can do a lot of the same stuff, Premiere or DaVinci Resolve can do in a lot of the apps that are on.
iMovie is really powerful, and if that's not powerful enough, do they have Final Cut on the iPad yet?
I think there is a version of it. There's another software, and I can't remember the name of it.
There's some others that are filling that space.
But still, for like cheap apps, instead of paying for Adobe, you get,
but I will say, if you're a student, take advantage of the Adobe Suite.
True.
Even if you aren't an art student, because they have so many cool apps, and it's like 75% off if you're a student or a teacher for the whole suite. Yeah. And they have Illustrator, Photoshop, all types of stuff. That's really sweet.
Totally. We were talking about this before, but I just want to real quick, while we're on the iPad train, just like sing the praises of GarageBand as an accessible music program. I've like scoured the internet trying to find something that feels as accessible, that works on a non-Apple platform. There are things that exist. None of them that I've found are simple and easy to use, and even cheap. So if you just if you're curious about like music recording in a more professional setting, it's such an awesome entry point. Get someone's old MacBook or like an old iPad. It doesn't have to be new or the hottest new thing to like just record some sound. I was using a MacBook from 2006 until I got this one, it lasted me almost 10 years. So you can find yourself some 10-year-old Mac and it'll work fine.
The old ones are actually more superior in my opinion. Like, I feel like they used to just push harder and better than they do now, because now it's like for turnover, like they want you to keep buying the new one.
Well, yeah, so
I feel like...
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
What?
I was gonna say the old ones are like upgradable even still. So like if you can find some old ones, and then you can even upgrade the process. If you're a big nerd, you can upgrade the RAM, the hard drive, the processor, even in some of them, and get a machine that will run a long time. If we have some old
if anybody wants them,
old Mac towers in the basement here. Actually.
I love all the
and some old iMacs.
Ancient equipment you guys have.
Yeah, we do have some old iMacs with some cracked screens in here that could use a home. And those things, so they're like those things. They have like an old i3 in them. They're 11 years old now, but they will boot GarageBand and it will like track some audio, and it's enough to sort of like get your hands on the basics. I just think GarageBand is great. If you have an iPhone, it's on there already too. And it's
now when you buy it, same with iMovie.
Yeah.
When I got my new phone, I was like, oh, look at it. It already has like iMovie and GarageBand on it. That's cool.
Totally. So even if you get some old iPhone, buy some used iPhone 7 for $80 or whatever, and like it'll be on there too. And like
pawn shops.
Yeah.
Go to the pawn shop. You'll find cameras. I mean, dependent on, I feel like every area, you have your good pawn shops. So like head to those ones, because they'll have old phones, old cameras, old laptops, like so many things that are still useful.
And online, I try to avoid eBay. Sometimes you can find some good stuff, but like B&H Photo is all like kind of the photographer's choice as far as like good equipment goes, and they've got some really good used deals if you keep an eye out on their used shop. Yeah.
And refurbished.
Yeah. I mean, like
I look for used stuff there.
Yeah, my I have a Dell XPS 15, which I love. It's a great laptop. I got that refurbished, and for like $500 cheaper or $600 cheaper than it was like brand new, and it was only, you know, they'd only been out for about a year, and like nothing wrong with it. I mean, they wouldn't refurbish something and sell you something that was broken. Like, it doesn't. So, you know, they fix these things and send them back out. Whether, you know, it could have just been the hard drive failed and it, you know.
Yeah, exactly. My first MacBook Pro laptop was refurbished. And I was like, I remember because I was using like financial aid money. And so I was like, oh man, these laptops are so expensive. And then it was like on the Mac site too. It was well, we have refurbished ones. We just technically can't sell them for the same price. And I was like,
that's where I got my Dell. Yeah. On the website, you go and you find their refurbished part. You know, if you find a laptop that you're looking, you know, that you're interested in, go on there. Go on the dealer's website, like Dell or, you know, Asus or Apple, you know, and go to their refurbished listings.
The Apple refurbished store doesn't go that far back. Like, there's no refurbished iPads for sale right now.
What can you get?
And like, it looks like there's only like one model of it's pretty limited. It's like, I think their refurbished store is mostly like customer returns that they like check out, and then they have a full warranty, which is rad. Like, because, you know, like, when I'm buying something that's like, I know we're talking about accessible cheap products or whatever, but if I'm going to drop like a wad on something like a computer, like, it's nice if that thing's under some warranty, because like, especially like a Mac, which is like not user repairable, like it's going to cost an arm and a leg to repair if it fails out of warranty.
Yeah, and just always go for the warranty for any electronic. That's kind of what I understand if you like have exactly what you need to make a purchase, but it's like, wait a month then, because it's just worth it, because if anything happens, it's either a reduced repair rate or it's for free.
Yeah, I mean, so like the flip side of that mentality is that like the odds are that if it's gonna like fail because something's wrong with it, it's gonna fail earlier than later. You know, I've heard that like logic too. I don't know, but I got a warranty on this thing, you know, which is now like 7 years old and like completely out of warranty, but like the only thing that ever went wrong with it ended up being something that they had like a program for, and they would have fixed it for free no matter what, whether I had a warranty or not. So I didn't really, for me it didn't matter with this machine, but and my old one failed within a year, so it was just under warranty anyways. So that's my experience with my 2 Macs that I've ever owned. So like, I'm in a very small sample size.
Yeah, me too. I was given like a G book way back in the day, and I had that for so long. And then I got a MacBook Pro, and then I ended up getting a desktop because I was doing just a lot of photo editing, photo uploading, just everything. So I bought a desktop and like juiced up the RAM, juiced up the processor, and like created a machine that I could always be like processing or rendering things on.
Totally.
And I haven't bought one since. I use a laptop from Access Humboldt for remote work, which, you know, being an Access station, we have all the programs on it, like all the Apple ones, so GarageBand, and iMovie, but then we also have Audacity. And we probably have a few other ones that I just don't really use. I use GarageBand usually for audio stuff because it's user friendly.
Totally.
And I'm still a new learner in the world of audio.
Yeah.
And then you brought up, and I learned audio stuff on Fruity Loops.
Yeah.
When I was
cool. Me too, actually.
They're still around, aren't they?
Yes.
They still like exist.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know, because I don't. Yeah. Like, I just remember it being GarageBand and Fruity Loops were like user-friendly to make music on.
Yeah.
And that was always the part I hated the most about film, because I'd be like, well, my favorite song should be in this part of my movie. And then you know, my teacher's like, you can't do that. That's illegal. So like, I just remember like doing drum kits and stuff, like poorly making bad music, but on GarageBand and Fruity Loops.
I made a ton of bad music in Fruity Loops, and a fair amount of bad music in GarageBand too. But that's how you make good music, is you start making bad music. And,
no bad music in Ableton. Everything in Ableton you've made is great.
Everything. No, yes, from the
Yeah,
like they're all different tools for achieving the same task. I find Fruity Loops honestly a lot more confusing than GarageBand personally. Even though that's what I started learning on, like something about the layout of that is not super intuitive to me. But for some people, it really clicks, and and you watch enough tutorials and anything will make some sense. But I'm glad you brought up Fruity Loops because Fruity Loops is now on mobile. And it's cross-platform too. So and finally, it's on Mac as well. It used to be Windows only for forever. So it's not. It's also now called FL Studio.
Okay. They grew up a little.
Yeah, they did, right? So that's a super popular program, but again, it's not cheap.
What's that other one?
Yeah, that was one that I was like, I don't think that comes. I do not know it. I just remember it from when I was a kid. But I was like, I know it's probably not free. And Ableton, that since you brought that up, also I remember that too. Not free.
Yeah. FL, the pricing on those is pretty similar. You can get entry level versions on the desktop for like $100, and then like a more upgraded version for like $300, and then like an even fuller one for more.
Yeah, that's also a new thing too that I feel like happens where they're like, oh, buy our software, it's free, and then it's like, oh, you've edited 3 things, now you have to pay to keep going, or oh, you like that filter, buy our Supreme package and you can have all these filters, or whatever it may be.
I have very little patience for the kind of subscription model software. That stuff bothers me a lot, and I would rather just own it. But I think I'm becoming increasingly old school in that regard. Do you know what I mean? And also like if I think about like how much money I spent on like Ableton, like if I was paying a subscription fee, there's some price point at which it would be the same cost to me, just I'd be paying it monthly instead of in a lump sum. So I don't know. I try not to just add a bunch of subscriptions because I'm worried that I'll lose track of them, and just end up.
Yeah, I had to get a tracker device, an app within itself, but I was and it's everything comes out on a different day. I had to really scan in and be like, what am I paying for? Especially when I got Adobe Suite, that's how I found out about the student discount. I had Adobe Suite because I was doing a lot of digital design. And so it was worth it to be paying however much it was a month for the whole suite. And it's now, I use it for work. I'll do some gigs here and there, but it's I'm not using it the way I was. And so I had my husband, who's still a student, get me an account because I was I still want the benefits of Adobe. Don't come for me, but I still want these benefits, but it's just not feasible for me to be paying because I don't even use it enough,
right?
And it's or even when I was doing things more for fun, it's I have a lot less time to do recreational digital design projects. Sure. So it's that comes into play of is this worth it? How much am I going to use it? And that was me. I got a light kit, and I originally got it because I wanted to do these self-portraits, and I was okay, I'm buying a light kit because I enjoy taking photography anyways, and it could be an investment in the long run. And it was a great kit. It came with a green screen, a white background, 2 lights, the hoods, and a couple of reflectors. So it's it was a really good kit for the price, and especially for if you're a beginner, just getting one of these little light kits so you can get used to where you put your lighting, how you bounce your lighting, or whatever it may be. If for some odd reason I ever take commercial photographs, I can use this. But I literally haven't even opened it yet. So it was another one of those things that I was this is great to have for your own equipment, inventory, but how often am I going to use it? I find myself just being oh, I'm going to go find a nice, well-lit area outside, or I mean, a green screen is kind of awesome, but that's probably the only part I've used more than once is trying to make a green screen for something. But
natural lighting is great. We're using pretty much all natural lighting in here, although the sun is changing, so we're getting a little bit of a green. It's funny how the light works. Speaking of green, it's kind
Yeah,
of
it kinda greens
green
out.
in here right now.
Totally.
Yeah, you guys have like that yellowy, but it looks natural.
Yeah, I've got it set so I changed the white balance on these cameras. So the little cameras we use, they're fairly accessible, and these are going to be the ones that we're actually building a live streaming kit to be available for checkout. And it's going to host these these exact same cameras that we're using here, which are about $600. So they're not cheap, but they have all the features that we need. They've got really actually great picture quality. They're not 4K or anything. They're HD, but in the right lighting setup, and they look really good. They've got great auto features and the ability to go manual if you need to. So right now, what I like to do, turn them on auto, let them figure out what they think is the best, and then I switch it over to manual, and it keeps those settings. And then in the manual setting, I can change the white balance, because I don't usually like the plain white balance in here, because it doesn't look, we're in this room and the sun's coming in, and when I look at the walls, of course the walls are painted white, but they're not like to get that natural look, to white balance it, you have to, I could white balance it exactly the white, but then it would come across, it wouldn't look as natural, you lose.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
Yeah, kind of. So I like to go in, and that's usually the only thing I change is the white balance. I typically let it, unless I'm like wanting to have it. If it is darker, I might open up the aperture and take away a little bit of the ISO that it introduces, or the gain that it introduces to the picture. But overall, they're pretty. They're kind of a. They're not low end, but they're kind of mid-range cameras.
Yeah. I was gonna bring up flip cameras.
Yeah, are they still a thing?
Back in the day, well, I mean, I don't think they're like people are steadily making new ones. But I do remember like when I first started making films, flip cameras were like just totally like the quality sucked. You couldn't put an SD card in it, so it only had however much storage it came with, but they got to a point where they were like decent, and I think that's kind of where it like plateaued, but like they finally ended up making like, I guess it's not like, I think some of them are HD.
Yeah, they ended up they made it to HD before they discontinued them, I guess, in 2011.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't think they're making them, but you can still get them.
Yeah, we have them here.
Oh, yep. See, that's the exact one that I used to have for my students.
Focus, please.
Totally.
And it had a little thing that would pop up the side, so you could upload your stuff.
Yeah.
And so my kids wouldn't use those to film people per se, but they would film like stop motion with them, or like title pages where they were like making drawings or something. And those are like super cheap. Like I'm pretty sure, especially now that they don't make them anymore, you could get them like for $20.
Cisco made these. It's so weird.
Isn't that
Cisco's
like the Costco people?
They're I think they're
Oh right. I know what you're talking about.
Routers.
And they have that little like waveform.
Yeah.
Near the name.
I didn't know they made. I forgot these were. So these are what Eureka High had these when I was doing film production with Philip Middlemiss, who was the video teacher at Eureka High School for a long time.
I think that's like the lowest you could go to just be capturing. I can't say that it will be the best mode of capturing, especially if we're comparing it to the iPhone. But
yeah, it's got an HD. I didn't even realize they've got an HDMI. It's a mini HDMI out, so you could essentially feed this into the ATEM, and I wonder what it would look like.
Yeah, I actually looked up a list of things that were under $300.
Okay. And the
so
was on there?
I want to share those at least before we finish up, because I feel like that's like a happy medium. Like if you were really serious about starting to make content, maybe you would look into this, because even a DSLR could be up to $1,000, or they're like over $1,000. Mine's super old. And when I bought it, I think I bought it on sale for $950, and that was like 6 years ago.
Is that a Canon Rebel? Or what?
It is a Canon. It's one of the Rebels. It's like one of the first T3i. It's like one of the it's very old. And even now when I capture video with it, it sometimes has a hard time.
And I think those probably have the like 30-minute limit too. You cap it out if you like record for too long, it will stop and
yeah, it will be like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
But I do like it because you can put all of your like photography settings onto the camera, the recording, which is nice. But yeah, it has that exact like timeout.
Yeah, a lot of the DSLRs do like have a record limit to prevent overheating.
Yeah.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Oh dang.
Yeah, which makes sense because it is so old that it does overheat pretty easily. And then I also like that I can use any of my photography filters, like all my orange or my yellow filters, and put it on the lens.
Oh, nice.
You know, to capture different things. But my friend actually got a new Sony camera that is that is for photography, but he captures pretty awesome videos with it.
Oh yeah.
Which I haven't used it, so I don't know. Like, it probably does something similar where it's like it has a limit for recording.
The new ones have luckily removed that because they've figured out like the heat sinking issue. So the new Sonys are amazing. If you got one of the new ones, I'm jealous. I would love to be rocking Sonys.
I think maybe within the last 2 years he got it, because I remember he was trying to sell his old camera to get this new one.
Yeah, does he do a lot of video stuff or a lot of more?
No, he mainly does photography, and like especially a lot of long exposure.
Yeah.
So like he'll do a lot of night shots with long exposure, and that's kind of like his thing, like street photography with long exposure. But I know that he does a lot of marketing for organizations and businesses. So he'll make like little clips for them or little videos, little reels of their products and stuff.
Could be a Sony, it's probably an Alpha 7 or an Alpha 7R.
And it's like tiny. It's like so lightweight and like compatible with whatever you're doing.
A7R probably. Could be a Mark II or a Mark III. Those are amazing cameras, but they range from like, and they're like a little over $2,000. That's without a lens. So, but they are amazing.
Yeah, that was the thing. Yeah, it without the lens, he had to buy the lens separately. Or like it comes with one, but it's like, you know, this big, so it doesn't have very much range.
Yeah, you get the kit lens with it. They're usually pretty good, but they definitely are not. If you want something specialized, ultra wide angle or super telephoto lens, you'll have to buy them.
Yeah,
separately.
Exactly.
Those are professional,
and
for sure.
Yeah, professional lenses, exactly. All right, so I got this list.
Yeah.
Cameras under $300. Let's see what they say. They say, first thing that says is to make sure you have headphones and an external microphone.
Okay. So
I guess that's how you take advantage of these cheap cameras, is by having good accessories, like we've said many times. So they have this like the tiny little handheld cameras. It's like it looks like a tube. It's a Canon HFR 800. It does the 24 frames per second, like we were saying. But it doesn't go very wide. Yep, there we go. Doesn't go very wide for the zoom. It can fit an adapter though, so you can change that. And it is a cheap, good quality camcorder that you can, plug a microphone into. So that's really good.
It's got
it kind of sucks because we were talking about eBay and how maybe that's not the best option because that's all it lists for where you can buy this.
Really? You can't get it off, or maybe they're not making them anymore?
Yeah, maybe. Or I guess they have Amazon, but I'm assuming Amazon's listed for a reseller as well.
Yeah, Canon makes some pretty solid stuff. There's ones on the top are nice.
Yeah, I'm like, you should put that page and list it lowest to highest, and we can see what.
We'll let you sort them.
There is a current model, the HFR 700, that's for sale.
Okay.
So that's the more recent one.
I don't know. It's available.
And I would just assume it has a faceplate so that you could put it on a tripod, because why wouldn't it?
There's a baby.
Yeah, they're like, this is what people use camcorders for.
Babies.
Which
babies.
The funny thing is that like camcorders anymore, like we're using them here for the auto features. That's the big thing.
And the HDMI out.
Exactly, and the HDMI.
Yeah.
So
like otherwise, like our phones are probably just as good.
Yeah, for sure. Especially the new phones with their
especially Jay's phone.
Yeah, gosh. That thing.
Do you have an iPhone or a Android?
One of the new Samsungs.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Because Android, as much as I rave for Apple products, I do believe that Android is the superior being. And their operating systems, their just everything. Their cameras are like so great. Like the Google phone camera is pretty amazing.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you're looking for a phone with a good camera,
if you're gonna get a phone and you're gonna get a nice one, like and you're gonna use it for video, the iPhones are great. The one thing about the iPhones is they have a lot of great AI stuff that contributes to the quality of the camera of the footage that you get. Of course, then Android, you've got a little bit more flexibility. I feel like with your choices.
There's a lot more options.
A lot more options. Yeah, I mean, if you look at this thing, this is...
And the ease, like the crossover ease. Like, I feel like it's so easy to get things off of an Android.
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
Absolutely.
Doesn't matter what kind of computer or device you're using to edit.
So this is the S21 Ultra, and you can just see the...
Oh, man.
The crazy... Like, I love to check out the new technology, and this thing has 3 cameras on it, just like the iPhone does. And then there's also another like telephoto or ultra wide angle. So you have a lot of options. And Corey and I were just talking earlier. The thing has a 108 megapixel sensor on there, which is insane. Totally, like, honestly, unless you're posting stuff on billboards, it's for a phone to have such a ridiculously high pixel count.
He took this picture of like a print earlier and then like zoomed in on it, and you could see like the weave like of the fibers.
Oh my god, of the paper.
It was crazy. It was like it was just like
that's crazy.
It was like wild macro photography like stuff, but it was just like a casual snapshot that you took, right?
Yeah.
The quality of some of these things are insane.
It was wild.
And I mean, you could film something that looked better than any of these cameras, and probably even close to. I mean, I don't have a fancy camera that I shoot on, but I shoot on a Panasonic G85, which is kind of like the GH5's little cousin. Kind of, it has a lot of the same sort of features, but not quite as professional. So it's kind of a prosumer sort of camera, and it's still like in the $1,000 range. I think they go for with the kit lens and everything, I think I'm not sure what they are now, 800,000, something like that. But they're 4K. But I feel like this lets you go. Like, let me look here at the camera app. I think in video mode, let me go into.
I mean, truthfully, if you have a microphone and a stand, it's like you could film like a whole production with the iPhone.
This is 8K
or a
at
smartphone.
24 FPS.
What?
It's just crazy. Like, why you'd want to shoot in 8K on a phone, I don't know.
Yeah.
So you can see individual pores on people's face.
Yeah.
It's crazy, and like you would use up your space on your phone so fast, like it would be gone in an instant because those files are huge. But yeah, the phones are getting into the territory of like things that even camcorders like this can't. Like I think there are 8K camcorders, but not many.
I mean, I do remember too a conversation like when I was in college, I went for media production, and I chose to do film photography instead of digital. And I still really love film photography, but it's slowly going obsolete alongside just the digital camera in general because folks, are choosing their phone. And I say that to myself all the time where I'm like, you have more than one camera, like leave the house with a camera and stop like relying on using your smartphone for pictures. But it's like, especially now, you can do like portrait mode, you can like basically, adapt your shutter speed and your aperture in the smartphone. So it's like, the whole reason we were in love with photography before is because we could manipulate these settings and create, whatever we were seeing. And it's like now I just press a button on my phone. It finds the right lighting, finds the right, the equation I need to, get a perfect exposure.
Yeah. I mean, for the casual photographer, your phone is gonna, like, you learn how to use your phone and use the professional, like the pro features, as they say on there. You can still get great shots. It's still never going to be to the level of what a like a mirrorless camera, like one of the new mirrorless cameras, like the Sonys you're talking about. You just always, there's no way you could fit a sensor, because we're talking like the sensors are essentially like a piece of film. The light hits and sends that digital signal in. So like when you're talking about a sensor that's like in these phones is like minuscule, like it's practically the size of, I don't know, like a grain of rice or something.
Yeah.
But and then in
it's like machines have to build these things now because they're so small and sensitive and like.
Mm-hmm. But then you take one of those mirrorless cameras and you can open, you can take the lens off and you can see this sensor, and it's like the full frame sensors are huge. They're, I mean, comparatively, they're, the 35 millimeters, like we had, like the old film was, it's the same size. And there's sensors that are even bigger than that in some other cameras. They have, there's a 35, and I think there's another sensor size above that. So the 35 millimeter sensor size is a full frame, which is equivalent to the 35 millimeter film.
Yeah.
And that is just going to give you way more color information, way better, more accurate, like color representation.
Better dynamics too.
Color dynamics, the depth, or all that information that's there. It's going to give you way better, like, shallow depth of field, real shallow depth of field, not like the phone where it kind of fakes it. Because all the portrait mode is using your depth camera that's on the back of it to like think about, oh, that's just the background, so I'll blur that out.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, I'm pretty sure it just blurs.
Yeah.
It doesn't actually like.
It's just like your effect that you're using. Just
exactly that smarter. I have.
Yeah, totally.
It doesn't actually like create layers. Yeah.
Totally. What else was on your list there?
What else it gave us, let's see, 4 options. So these are the 4 options. Okay, the next one is the Panasonic V180K, which is another one of the like little handheld ones. Mm-hmm. But this one has like a lot of parameters around it. It looks like that it is a wide angle lens though, so that's nice. The other one wasn't. It will film in HD, but it does not have a space that you can put a microphone in. There is no microphone input, headphone socket, or a viewfinder. So
interesting.
So you have to look through the tiny hole, which
I think it's got the screen, so it doesn't have the viewfinder. I think would be the tiny, like the tiny hole. Yeah. So you've got the LCD display. You just don't have like a. I don't even think these don't have, the ones we've got here don't have.
I don't think these have a viewfinder.
Viewfinders, but they do have a adapter that plugs into the back, so you can put a mic on them.
And it's just small.
Yeah.
So that's
compact.
it.
I mean, if you want to give, like that little kid's got it in that. If you scroll up, he's got it in his hand, so you can give it to your kids to record.
And the battery life isn't great, which that's another thing I wanted to add that I have in my equipment at home is I have multiple batteries
Always a good
for
option.
like everything I have. Especially since my equipment is old, some days battery life is different on other days, you know. Um let's see. And then they have just, you know, an SLR or a mirrorless camera,
Mhm.
which, you know, the older the version, the cheaper it's going to be. So they actually list the camera that I have.
Oh, really?
Um,
The rebels
and
were really good,
which I'm
man.
like, that's crazy if it is under $300 now. But I guess it has been like 6 years.
Yeah.
So
It's wild how much
uh,
stuff depreciates, like digital
I
technology.
know.
So that's why I
It like
started.
breaks my heart too, because when I
Yeah.
bought it, I was like, look at me making this large purchase, like
Yeah.
for my art. Like, this is amazing.
Yeah, so that's maybe another plus for buying used. It's like, like if it's
Right.
gonna obsolesce anyways, like
Oh, but it says it doesn't shoot in HD,
Mm,
which is interesting. Um, and doesn't have a headphone jack, which
yeah,
I think I knew that.
yeah.
And then it lists a Canon EOS T4i, which is ultimately like the same thing. It just looks like more lightweight and like hand friendly. Um,
Yeah.
and those were their four
Huh.
items. Because I guess you could probably find like similar quality things if you were to search. Like if we looked for the Canon, we could probably find similar products in different brands.
Mhm.
Yeah. If I were to give a suggestion to anyone now, in this, like, in 2021, I feel like if you have a decent phone, say you've got a contract through, T-Mobile or Verizon or whoever, you're on your monthly plan, you've got an iPhone, you've got a decent, a newer Samsung.
Or some phone from the last 2 years.
Right.
Yeah.
Spending that $300 and getting yourself a gimbal for your cell phone is gonna give you, I feel like if you're doing a lot of stuff where you're moving around and you don't want to just stick it on a tripod, which, a lot of people, if you're filming something, it's good to, get up and move around a little bit if you're doing, more narrative stuff, I guess. Spending that $300 and getting yourself a phone gimbal would probably be a better investment, as you could use that continuously. And it wouldn't be, if you went and bought a $300 camera and then like a year or 2 years later you've saved up and you want to buy another one, you'd never use that camera again.
Yeah.
Right.
So
I agree that you should, unless you're saving up to get like a 4K professional camera. I mean, even if you are doing that or you're not doing that, I think outfitting your phone
yes,
in all the ways you can
I think so too.
is one of the most accessible ways to get started.
Like
at
4 or
least
5 years ago, I probably wouldn't have recommended them, but now I would say that that's the best way to go. Kit your phone out as best you can and save up. Like, if you're gonna spend that money right now, you got the $300 sitting there. Buy a decent gimbal. Buy an external mic. Get yourself some kind of way to charge your phone out in the field. If you're doing a lot, you're going to use use up your charger, your battery. So, have a battery bank, kit out your phone. And then some phones
set up some storage.
Yeah, some storage. Some phones even have you can buy lenses.
Mm-hmm.
Like the iPhones
Yes.
have like external lens attachments that give you.
I have seen that. I've never used them, but I have seen them.
Yeah, those
they seem cool.
If that's something you need, you need that super wide angle, or you want a more telephoto angle, you can get those. And then just save your money to get a mirrorless camera, something that you can at least like change the lenses on, because that's when you're really going to start expressing that, using those lenses and being like, learning all the stuff about, your aperture and really worrying about, because with the phone you can just leave it on auto, it's going to spit out a nice picture, you can take it in your computer and you can change the colors and things. But when you really get into it, getting something you can switch the lenses out, get yourself, a few different types of lenses, they could be zoom lenses, they could be prime lenses. Lenses don't zoom; they're static, but they usually give you a nicer, crisper picture. Get something that's 4K. Get something that you can, because anytime you get something that's like 4K or even 8K, if you downsample that to 1080, like you scale it down and push all that together, it's gonna spit out an even better picture. So even though 8K sounds crazy, still like compressing 8K down to 1080 is beautiful. Like it's always gonna look better than just regular 1080. So like saving up for that $1,000, $1,200 mirrorless camera, I think is the way to go, than to spend it on a camera that might be obsolete.
And I think it's worth it to buy like a medium. Like buying a mirrorless camera from 2-3 years ago is still going to save you a bunch of money.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and you'll use it for longer than if you were to reach way back and get one of these like $300 ones.
Right. So, and like I said, like most of these can do what the camera can do. The main reason we use these $600 Panasonic ones is they've got those options, and they also can like hook up to our streaming system.
Yeah.
And they're great for that.
I feel like that's a happy medium.
Yeah.
Like it's not cheap, it's not expensive.
It allowed us to get 3 of them,
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, exactly.
It's super nice to have 3 of the same camera because they like look the same.
Right.
Yeah, that's a good point. So you could send like 3 groups of people to do stuff and still put it together,
or 3 different angles.
And then, so like for us, we have Access Humboldt, but if someone somewhere else, your access station most likely has equipment. So like you can become a member and borrow the 4K cameras from
that's right. They have
Access Humboldt.
So
we have we have 4K cameras that are pretty big. So they're tripod cameras, but they're HD. They look great.
Yeah.
You can attach any kind of mic. You can use wireless mics. So borrowing equipment, if it's possible, is obviously always the most accessible, especially like for access. I think it's like $25 a year to be a member. And then it's like some very small amount to rent the camera gear.
Yeah, we've only just recently started doing the renting stuff. But it's something that we've definitely for our students try to provide that as an option. But I've sent students over to Access Humboldt, be like, hey, you can get this whole kit with all the stuff that you need that we don't have here. Back before COVID, when we weren't really renting stuff out because our every piece of equipment was valuable to us. So it was kind of like,
it would get used like regularly. Yeah.
I mean, it is tricky.
So.
Oh, sure.
Because yes, it is.
It's a whole thing.
It is very hard. To lend very expensive equipment out, especially when we're only making $25 a year per person.
Right.
But
I like
we make people go through 2 training.
Exactly. That's what I was gonna say. The training is great.
To ensure that you know how to use the equipment. And then just like the honor system, that if something does go wrong, you'll talk to us about it versus just returning broken equipment or something. We haven't had anything like that happen though, so that's good. And then we have like studio cameras in our studio. So people that do like talk shows and stuff can just come into the studio, use the equipment that's there, and then leave with a thumb drive.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so cool. Plus you guys got the whole room at the studio has a green screen and all sorts of other stuff, and it's a great...
Yeah, exactly. Green screen. We have microphones, lighting. So because it's like one thing to borrow equipment, but if you can't really create a well-lit place, then that kind of sucks. If you're not like shooting outside or somewhere like on location, you're like filming a talk show or a vlog or something, and you like don't have the lighting or the background or anything like that, you just come to the studio.
Yeah, it's a really cool opportunity. I wish it would be taken advantage of more, because it's definitely a great location to work on stuff, and a lot of opportunities for different kind of projects. Plus, you guys have the editing stations too, huh?
Yeah.
So
Which,
hopefully will be accessible again.
yeah, I'm not even sure what programs we have on on our editing. I've always just stuck to my computer.
Yeah, I believe
Um,
those have Final Cut Pro.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think we have Final Cut in iMovie,
Possibly an iMovie. Okay. Yeah, oh,
and
that's
that's
right,
like
huh?
it.
No more. I remember the conversation about the No More Creative Cloud. So yeah, I think it's just Final Cut and Premiere
Yeah,
and iMovie.
which I use iMovie a lot because it's on my computer, but I actually prefer Final Cut,
Mm. Yeah, it just gives you more.
and I prefer Final Cut's the old one over the new one.
Yeah, it's definitely a different experience than Premiere and DaVinci Resolve, but both are cross-platform. So
Yeah, and DaVinci does a lot of cool stuff if
mhm.
you take the time to like learn it.
Yeah, it's pretty sweet. And I guess we'll talk more about the software.
Yeah, right. I'm like, we're getting into software. That's
Yeah,
for next week.
we'll definitely do that. We have a lot to talk about there. A lot of good programs out there for creators. So yeah, well, how do you
Yeah,
feel?
I'm
Should we,
like
oh, go ahead.
ready to learn about what you guys use because I feel like I've been stuck in the the apps and stuff that I use for so long that I'm like, maybe it's time I learn some new stuff.
Yeah, well, you got a lot of suggestions, I'm sure. I'm definitely an open source guy. I like free stuff. So almost everything that I teach at MARZ is free. So
Oh, nice.
yep.
If there was
Sweet.
a good open source music software, I would teach that too. But
Yeah, Corey, we've had the conversation before.
I don't understand why. Like, it seems like video is like a demanding application, but for some reason, no one's makes a good free digital audio workstation that is intuitive. There are a few out there. I will put together my list of recommendations and show them to you next time.
Yeah, I'll have to dig through my husband's brain too because he enjoys making music a lot, and I know he doesn't use GarageBand,
Yeah.
so I'm curious to know what he does use.
I'm willing to bet. What kind of music does he make?
Like beats.
Oh, yeah.
He takes samples and
Yeah.
like, makes beats.
So I'm willing to bet he uses either Ableton Live or FL Studio. Like, the overwhelming odds are.
Yeah, all right.
But
We'll
report
get
back.
that
Let me know.
I gotta like dig through the desktop computer that I'm never on. Yeah.
All right. Yeah.
Cool. Well,
But okay, well then, yeah, I guess we'll be here next week.
yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks for
Chat in
joining
the
us.
chat again.
Yeah, we appreciate it. It's
Yeah,
cool
thanks
to cool to get a remote guest on, even though we had some technical difficulties there in the beginning. But thanks for all the people
That's
that
okay. Just
came
fast
and
forward.
watched the maybe 2 or 3. But our fans will come watch us later.
Yeah, that seems to be their MO.
Like just skip the beginning.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, of course you have to wait till the end for us to tell you that. So.
yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Yes. Okay.
Cool. Awesome. Well, we look forward to having you on next week, where we'll talk about some software and yeah, cool. Awesome.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mo.
Thanks for
Have a
joining
good
us.
night.
You too.
Bye now.